Hey all, it's Dan Clark with another session of BruisedCoding. Today we'll be going over some more StimulusReflex on my side project, Dinner Picker. If you recall, last time I had successfully added in StimulusReflex into my project. It was much easier than I thought it was going to be, so fortunately that happened. And just to kind of give you a heads up as to where it is right now. And this one, hopefully this will be a quick, like maybe at most 10-minute video, but as a brief little reminder, what this allows me to do now is, and the last time I was pretty excited when I saw this, but now I've wired up these add buttons so that when I click them, they will update create a scheduled meal, and it will transition this card into showing that meal for that day. So it will basically turn from showing a suggestion to an actual scheduled meal that you will be cooking. So today is a Friday, so I'm going to add in something else global admin. These are just BS meals, but essentially what I'm going to do is just click add, and just like that, thanks to the magic of StimulusReflex, it has updated. Now, there might be something that you might not have noticed, and actually let me just refresh the page really quick, show you that everything is good. All right, so actually let me just do one thing. Let me remove that. And now, one thing that you might notice is that, so for example, we have test 3 and Clark meal on Saturday and Sunday. Now, if I click this, it just changed those. So here's the problem. Let's say I come to this page and I'm a user and I really want to, I like the 3 suggestions that are presented to me. Unfortunately, the way that StimulusReflex works is it pretty much refreshes the whole entire page, and the way that this page re-renders the page. And unfortunately, the way that this page works is that when you visit it, it will come up with 3 suggestions, at least, and present them to you. And they will be random, mostly random suggestions. It will take things into account like how many times you've had those meals and a whole bunch of other things. But the thing though is I would like them to stay the same unless you refresh the page or you do something else, but that'll be down the line. So that's kind of the problem right now, and I want to solve that. And the nice thing is with StimulusReflex, let me get that up. So StimulusReflex has documentation already there for you to kind of do a partial DOM update. And it's actually really easy. All you have to do is you just need to add in another attribute, this reflex root. And essentially what that does is it allows you to specify which elements StimulusReflex should be updating or changing out with whatever it gets back from the back end. Now, I will admit, I did kind of run into a problem, and I will actually go down that route so you can kind of see what happened. So let's get started. First, let's just reset this really quick. Remove, are you sure? Yes. And hopefully this page will go away eventually because the home page can pretty much do it all. Anyway, oop, wrong one. Let's see here. That's not the right one. That's my desk control. Okay, cool. So what we have here is an empty terminal. We need to add in that data type or that attribute into the button. So essentially, we're going to be adding it here, and I think it was reflex roots. And so what I was thinking was, well, I wanted to replace just one element, right? So essentially, I guess the root element that I wanted to replace has a class of box. So let me go and do that. So I'm going to say anything, I'm going to be looking for the parent class with box. And that's it. Yeah, that is it. So let's save that. Let's go back to our application. And let's just refresh this really quick, make sure everything is fine. Let's just inspect it really quick, make sure it looks right. And let's see, where is that? I'm gonna look at the ad, and we have, where is it? There it is. Data reflex root. Looking for the class box. So let's go and click it. That doesn't look right at all. And there's a reason for this, because we're not giving an element that is specific enough. So unfortunately, when I go to render this page through the controller, it passes back 3 cards that all have a class of box. And what I'm thinking is happening here is that StimulusReflex isn't smart enough to figure out which one of those 3 that I need to put in there. And I guess what's happening here, and it might not be necessarily StimulusReflex, it might be MorphDOM here that's causing problems or whatever. But either way, we're not specific enough, and that's the cause of the problem here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our terminal. So box wasn't specific enough, and as a result, it tried to load all 3. So what do we want to try and do here? We want to add something to make these cards a little bit more specific. So I'm going to add an ID, and we're going to say to that ID, we're going to basically, essentially, what we want to do is we want to create an ID. But the problem here is those IDs there are no IDs yet, because these belong to things that have yet to been created. So I can't do like something like scheduled meal new, because all 3 are going to be scheduled meal new, and that's not going to be helpful at all. So I'm going to have to contrive something. So I'm going to make something, and we're going to say, well, we're going to call it scheduled meal. And we're going to give it the date. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some string interpolation. And we're going to call the scheduled date, because these are all going to have their own scheduled dates. And we're going to do the string from time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back the scheduled date that we want, or that's associated with it. So that looks pretty good. It helps if I can spell scheduled right. And so we need to close that off, and then close that off, and then that should be good there. But now we need to change the route, but it's going to be essentially the same thing. So we're going to grab that to the quote, right before the quote, yank that. We're going to change the reflex route now. We're going to change the reflex route to essentially that ID. So each one of these, because it's going to iterate over 3 of them, they're all going to have their own unique ID, element ID. And now, assuming I did this right, and we'll see pretty shortly. Let's refresh this page. Probably want to close that out. See, on a refresh it works, or it loaded correctly because reasons. So let's go to, well, because it's rendering it for the first time. We're not relying on StimulusReflex there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to home. And let's see if this did this right first. Let's inspect this element. Okay, so on our root, now we have scheduled meal 202703. So that's today's date. And up on our div, we have scheduled meal as the ID 202703. And just to show you that they're different, I'm sure you believe me though. Let's see here. Now it's 704, and 704 is the ID. So, okay, so let's try this out. And let's take a note. Clark meal new, and something else global admin. So before these were changing, because remember, the page that was getting rendered, it would randomly select new meals. So, cross your fingers. Clark meal new, something else global. And just to show you again, something else global. We are now working. So that is how you use scoping in StimulusReflex. It's really simple to use, and it makes partial DOM rendering really easily now within StimulusReflex. And honestly, it's I can't verbalize the love that I have for this new library. I mean, granted, I'm not a great front-end developer, but I love the fact that I don't have to screw around with JavaScript. I don't have to learn all those, what the new hottest framework is. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but at the same time, if Rails is already doing it through StimulusReflex, and I don't have to write that much JavaScript, and I'm really already okay with Rails, why not keep it that way? Anywho, that's all I got. This was another session of BruisedCoding. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Clark. And I have a website, bruisedthumb.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. That said, have a great day.